actually preparing an operation to invade the coastline along the Strait of Hormuz, or to invade Karg Island, or to seize Iran's nuclear facilities or highly enriched uranium. It's hard to tell exactly what the goal is there. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And we're also going to talk tonight about Tulsi Gabbard, who in a hearing in the U.S. Senate today, this is amazing, she was asked point blank by Joel Ossoff from Georgia, a Democrat. She was asked, do you believe that Iran presents an imminent threat to the United States? And she basically towed the line with the Trump administration and said, well, whatever Trump determines is a national security threat, that is true. And this is really the central question. This is the pretext for the entire war. Israel and President Trump, not even his whole administration, but Trump himself, they have said we had to invade Iran. We were left with no choice, or rather, we had to attack Iran. We had to invade Iran.
Fuck you, nigger.
We were left with no choice, or rather, we had to attack Iran. We had to invade Iran.
Fuck you, nigger.
We were left with no choice. We had to attack Iran. We had to invade Iran. We were left with because Iran presented an imminent threat. This was the justification. Joe Kent, who worked in the office of the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard's office, at the Counterterrorism Center, Kent resigned yesterday saying, this is a lie. This is not true. Iran did not present an imminent threat, and so the justification for the war is false. So Tulsi Gabbard was presented with that question. This is becoming kind of the definitive question of the conflict. She was asked, did Iran pose an imminent threat? And she totally ducked the question, and she deferred to the president and said, well, it's really up to Trump to decide what is a threat and what isn't a threat. And the senator said, that's false. No, that's your job, actually. You have discretion. You have the ability to judge. You are the head of the Office of the Directorate of National Intelligence. So her job is actually to gather the intelligence from all the 17 intelligence agencies and to create options and insights for the president. It's your job to determine what's an imminent national security threat. And she said, I don't know. That's Trump's job. It's Trump's judgment. It's his determination. That's all that matters. And if you know anything about Tulsi Gabbard, this is a disgusting betrayal, because for years she has been a non-interventionist and has said that we should not fight a war with Iran, that Iran is not an imminent threat, that whatever threat Iran does pose to our strategic interests or allies in the region, it does not justify intervention, much less a regime change war led by the United States. And this is after yesterday she effectively said the same thing on Twitter. Yesterday, after Joe Kent resigned, her follow-up to that, because Kent was her deputy in the ODNI, Gabbard said on Twitter basically the same thing. It's Trump's judgment. Whatever he says is an imminent threat is an imminent threat. So this is either cowardice or it's a total betrayal. Either way, I told you so. I told you that Tulsi Gabbard was not our girl. Everybody said in 2024, during the presidential transition, they said, we're going to have this unbelievable administration. We're going to have J.D. Vance, and we're going to have Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. and all these people. And I told you all these people suck. Pete Hegseth is not based. Marco Rubio is not based. J.D. Vance is not based. And neither is Tulsi Gabbard. All of these people are crap. Tulsi Gabbard has a lot of weird connections. I believe she was on the Council on Foreign Relations. J.D. Vance, you know the story at this point. RFK Jr.'s campaigning with Rabbi Shmuley. And Marco Rubio has always been a puppet of the Adelsons. It has a lot of weird connections. I believe she was on the Council on Foreign Relations. J.D. Vance, you know the story at this point. RFK Jr.'s campaigning with Rabbi Shmuley. And Marco Rubio has always been a puppet of the Adelsons. When people seriously thought in 2024 this was not even acceptable, they thought this was the dream team that would deliver the golden age. Well, now you see how much that is worth. Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard and Dan Caldwell and all these people in the admin, and this is what you get. So that's that. But we're going to get into it. We got a lot to cover. Before we begin, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. Remember to check out our merch store, Wentus.store. Check out our America First hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, flags, hoodies, all that stuff. It's all on the website. If you want to support the show, subscribe at AmericaFirst.plus. $15 a month, you get access to the entire archive. You get the MP3 format of the show, MP3 downloads, RSS feed. For $100 a month, you get access to the $100 a month club. That's a group chat on Telegram that I'm in, and I'm in there all the time. I dropped another voice message last night. I went into it a lot. Yesterday was a pretty interesting show, and I did like a post-show follow-up on Telegram. I dropped like a 30-minute voice message, 30-minute additional bonus content only for the group chat. So if you're interested, check that out. Like I said, that's AmericaFirst.plus. Yesterday's show was very interesting, and I spelled it out. If you missed the show last night, it was really essential viewing. If you want to understand what's going on with Joe Kent, you have to watch the show last night. And I gave a little blurb on Telegram this evening. And I will just actually restate it here very briefly because I do think it's that important. Everybody is talking about this Joe Kent letter. And if you haven't heard yesterday, Joe Kent, he is the director of the Center for Counterterrorism, which is under the office of the Directorate of National Intelligence, run by Tulsi Gabbard. Yesterday, Joe Kent resigned his post to J.D. Vance, the vice president, and he published his letter of resignation on Twitter and basically said, I cannot go on in this role because I don't believe in what the administration is doing. He said Iran does not and did not pose an imminent threat to the United States or our core interests. That was a lie. He said, rather, we were dragged into the conflict by Israel. He said we were dragged into the conflict, much like we were in Iraq, by Israel and its lobby in the United States. And he said that he could not, in good conscience, support sending U.S. soldiers to die in the Middle East like they have been sent in the past for another endless war on behalf of a foreign government. And it was a great statement. I give it about a B. I would maybe give it a B, a B+, for reasons I got into yesterday. He simultaneously said that the killing of Qasem Soleimani was America first and a great decision, but also said the war in Iran is America last and influenced by the Israelis. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's just not true. And you don't get one without the other. So you can't be in favor of killing Soleimani, but also then want to pull back when we go to war in Iran, because the killing of Soleimani directly led to the conflict. And anyway, I talked a lot about that last night, but he published this letter. And then today, he went on Tucker Carlson's show. And they did, I believe, 90 minutes or 2 hours. And Joe Kent elaborated on his position, and it was really uninteresting. It was pretty boring, actually, if you're familiar with these conversations. It wasn't really anything new. And I have to say, it was a little bit scummy. Tucker put it behind a paywall.
Ugh.
So he advertised this morning that Joe Kent was going to be on the show live at 6 o'clock. And then they put it behind a paywall on the website. You got to pay $6 to watch it. It's like, we're at war, okay? We are at war in Iran. The deputy to the ODNI resigned because he said Israel made us fight the war. You get the exclusive interview, you put it behind a $6 paywall. You tell the Goyim you can't watch the interview unless you paid the toll, unless you pay the $6. That's crazy. Okay, that's actually crazy. And that's coming from the guy that is always saying, oh, I don't need anybody's money. Oh, I'm not taking money from Iran. You know when he does that voice? I don't want their money. I don't need their money. Right? I don't need anybody's money, but I'm also not that rich. I'm a trust fund guy, but also I don't have $50 million. How dare you say that? Guy that doesn't care about money, by the way. Guy that doesn't need or care about money. You can watch my exclusive interview with the defecting director of counterterrorism, but only if you give me $6. What? $6. It's only $6. We got to afford to pay the bills. You know, it's like, that's crazy. That's a little bit Jewish. You know, that's a little bit Jewish. $6? Why are you chewing us, Tucker? What is that? So, what is that? $6? Because I got all excited. I got my DoorDash. I'm in my chair. I'm kicking my feet. I'm ready to watch the show. I'm all excited. Okay, here we go. Where is it? Oh, it's not on YouTube. Okay. Go on Twitter. It's not there. So I go on Tucker Carlson Network. Paywall, $6. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That just ain't right. That ain't right. I do this show live every night for free. Free. It's always been free. I've never paywalled the show, ever. And I'm not a trust fund kid. Fox News never paid me $20 million. Go sell your masa chips. He's got a big problem with me. Hey, I never sold masa chips. Okay, and I never paywalled anything. Anyway, whatever. But he pays, moving on. He paywalls the show. And I'm watching the show. It's pretty standard stuff. There was one thing in the show that I didn't like. Joe Kent says, well, they wouldn't let us ask any questions about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And I know a lot of people are probably going to ask me about that in the super chats, and I'm sure people saw that clip and they're drawing conclusions. Look, Joe Kent is the director of counterterrorism. He works in the Directory of National Intelligence. If you know something about Charlie Kirk's assassination, then tell us. Otherwise, shut up. I have so had it. And maybe this isn't popular, maybe you're not going to like this, but this is the truth. I have had it up to here with the just asking questions, the vague insinuations, vague implications. Joe Kent is not a civilian. He's not an internet sleuth. He was the head of counterterrorism in the federal government, in the office of the Directorate of National Intelligence. He goes on Tucker and says, well, no one is letting us ask any questions about this. There were foreign intelligence ties to investigate, but we couldn't look into them. The FBI told us. Hey, man. Everybody knows what you're implying. And what you're implying is that there's a conspiracy because there's a cover-up. That's the implication. This is sensationalism. You're talking about something that obviously everybody's interested in, that's been the subject of a lot of debate. You are intentionally engaging in sensationalism. You are intentionally being vague. You are intentionally making implications and insinuations. And people will draw inferences from those statements, from these vague statements, by saying, we can't ask any questions. There were things to investigate, but they wouldn't let us. What you're saying is there's a cover-up. The FBI covered it up. Covered up what? Some kind of grand conspiracy. You know what, man? If you got something to say, then fucking say it. You're not an internet sleuth like us. You actually were involved in the USIC, in the intelligence community. So you know something, or you should know something, or you have power to know something. If you know something, then tell us. That's brave. That's courageous. Don't give us these vague insinuations. I could get that from Candace Owens. I could get that from anybody. If you know something, then tell us. Then say it. Otherwise, why even go there? I'm a little bit skeptical. I'm a little bit suspicious. Tucker does the same thing. Tucker told us that he knew for a fact Erica Kirk was being followed by Egyptian planes. That's what he said. When Candace Owens pushed on 28 different shows that Erica and Charlie Kirk were being chased by Egyptian military aircraft, Tucker Carlson said, I happen to know that that is happening for a fact. Really? Because in mid-December, somebody paid for the same data that Candace Owens has, which is available if you pay $900, and he found out that all her data was bogus. It was all fake. She messed it up. She entered the data incorrectly. And so all of that was a giant hoax. And then she never spoke of it again. Never talked about it again. The moment it was debunked by somebody that just had the time and resources and IQ to literally fact check it. So what happened to that? Tucker says, well, I happen to know the Egyptian planes are real. I happen to know that Mossad tried to do a false flag in Saudi Arabia after the war in Iran started. I happen to know there's a conspiracy. Joe Kent says we're being told we can't ask questions. You know what? If you two people know something, why don't you share with the rest of us? Otherwise, shut up. What good does that do in the conversation to say, well, there's this conspiracy, but I can't talk about that. Really? So then what are we doing here? What's the point of this interview? Why are we doing a podcast then? Why are we doing an interview? What's the point of going on TV and saying, I'm going to give Tucker the exclusive, we're going to do a paywall show. We're going to do a paywall show, tell all. Oh, did you hear what Joe Kent said about the Charlie Kirk assassination? He strongly implied there's a conspiracy. Well, what is the actual purpose of having you in the USIC and then flaming out and resigning if you're not going to tell us what you know? Do you know something or not? Because if you know something and you're not telling us, then you're part of the cover-up and you're lying. If you don't know anything, but you're implying you know something, then you're lying, and I question your motives. Why are you leading us to draw this inference? I don't like that. Beyond that. So I saw that, and that made me lose my mind. I'm so sick of that stuff. I have no tolerance for that. Every day these people are baiting us to subscribe, get on the paywall, watch the next episode. We have new Charlie Kirk text messages on tomorrow's episode. We have Netanyahu's letter, but we're not going to release it until. We have new. What did Candace Owens put out the other day? We have new footage from behind Charlie Kirk. She waits until the end of the episode, puts it at the very end, and it's a nothing burger. I'm so sick of that. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe in conspiracies. I want to see the evidence. And don't tell me you're a brave truth teller. Don't tell me you're a martyr if you're hiding things. And if you don't know something, then don't imply that you do, because that's dishonest. And so anyway, I had a big problem with that. Beyond that, I believe this whole Joe Kent thing is an op. It is the most obvious op in the whole world, and it's accomplishing one of two things. One, and this is maybe the most obvious, Tucker apparently is going to get charged with FARA. He says he knows that. How does he know that? Nobody knows. How does he know half the shit he says he knows? Nobody knows. Do we even believe it? Tucker says, the CIA is reading my text messages. Okay, how do you know that? That's highly questionable. He says, but the CIA is reading my text messages to the Iranian government, and they're going to charge me under FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act, as a undisclosed lobbyist for the Iranian regime. This is what Tucker says on Saturday. Then Joe Kent resigns on Tuesday, goes on Tucker's show the following day, and they have this big interview about the war in Iran. Well, it comes out this afternoon that Joe Kent is under investigation by the FBI, and that investigation predates his resignation, and maybe even the whole war with Iran. And they say it's related to him leaking classified intelligence. Now, Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson are good friends. Maybe was Joe Kent leaking to Tucker? Are they connected in some way, perhaps? Because that would be alarming. If Tucker was meeting with Trump and receiving intel from Joe Kent, and then he was also in touch with the Iranian government, at the minimum, that does warrant a little bit of scrutiny. I do think, actually, that might constitute some kind of an issue. And maybe the purpose of this media blitz was to get ahead of it. This is just speculation. This is just a theory. I'm not saying that's the case, and I'm not saying I believe the DOJ. I'm not saying that I believe that Tucker and Kent are criminals. I don't know what charges are being brought or if charges are being brought. I don't know whether they're credible or not. It could be a complete hoax or a witch hunt. Maybe it's not even real. But it is really interesting, and it could go either way. You could say either Tucker and Joe Kent are being punished by the deep state because they're opposing the war. You could say, and I think that's plausible too, you could say that Tucker, who is a staunch opponent of the war and lobbied Trump to stop, and Joe Kent, who resigned his post and was a conscientious objector, you could say the two of them are being punished by the deep state, which has gone authoritarian because they're at war, and they are trying to crack down on anti-war dissent. Plausible. It could also be said the other way, that Tucker and Joe Kent got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and they got tipped off that charges were being brought, and maybe they were going to go to jail and get in some trouble. And so how do we get out of this problem? Well, they got ahead of it by becoming martyrs, and they go on Twitter and say, we're about to be charged, we're just doing free speech, we're just against the war, and this and that. That could be the case also. And so it is interesting that Tucker came out this timeline on Saturday and said, I'm about to be charged under FARA. Tuesday, Joe Kent says, or rather it's reported, I think, in the New York Post, it says the FBI is about to charge Joe Kent for leaking classified intel. It's hard to tell because we are in the fog of war. But that is a little bit mysterious. And so that might be one thing that is going on. Clearly, something is up there. And either there's a rogue element in the administration that wants them to go to jail for opposing the conflict, or they are foreign operatives, which wouldn't be hard for me to believe, because Tucker does roll with all the foreign governments. Okay, who is prosecuting the war in Iran? Well, it is Israel, but you know who else advocated for it? Saudi Arabia, the Emiratis, the Qataris, less so the Qataris. And Tucker is in bed with all those foreign governments. Tucker said that, in his opinion, the wisest man in the world is Mohammed bin Zayed, the Crown Prince of the United Arab Emirates, or the President of the UAE. Very interesting. And he's been in Saudi Arabia. He interviewed with Piers Morgan there. Goes there all the time. Talks to the royal family there. And so it is interesting that Tucker does seem to be involved on a higher level. We're not talking journalists, because he didn't interview these people in front of the camera. He's having private closed-door meetings, lobbying them behind the camera, off camera. Maybe there's no cameras even in the room. That's not the work of a journalist. That's the work of a lobbyist, a spy, some sort of operative. So I could easily believe that's going on too. Now, the other side, what might be the other explanation for what is happening with Joe Kent and Tucker? I think that's also very obvious. So the same day on Saturday that Tucker said he's under CIA investigation, the first member of the Trump government came out and criticized the war. And that person was David Sacks. David Sacks is the AI czar in the White House, so he's a member of the Trump government. for those that don't know, David Sacks has been a close personal friend of Peter Thiel since 1992, since they went to Stanford Law School together. And I believe Tucker Carlson met both of them in Washington, D.C. in 1992. So Tucker has known Peter Thiel as long as David Sacks has. David Sacks is tight with Peter Thiel. They co-founded PayPal together. Sacks is part of the PayPal mafia. And David Sacks is also a close confidant of J.D. Vance. So is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's son, Buckley, works for J.D. Vance in his press office. And Tucker had J.D. Vance on his Fox News show something like 45 times. Joe Kent, when he ran for Congress in 2022, got money from Peter Thiel. When he was running for Congress in Washington State, he got the maximum individual contribution from Peter Thiel and maybe other money as well. We're not really sure about that. Tucker also promoted Joe Kent on his Fox News show, just as he did with J.D. Vance. So there's like this nexus there. And there's a lot of other connections. I went into great detail about this on my Telegram channel. Now you see the gang is all back together this weekend, where David Sacks is against the war. Tucker's under investigation. Joe Kent leaves the admin and interviews with Tucker. And Joe Kent and David Sacks are the only ones against the war in the admin. And Tucker interviews Kent, and Tucker is obviously outspoken against the war. All three of these people, what do they have in common? They all have deep ties to J.D. Vance. Direct and indirect, personal and political connections to J.D. Vance. And as I said last night, and this is really the most important thing to understand, J.D. Vance is trying to save his prospects in 2028. So is the coterie of advisors that have staked their future and their career on a Vance administration. It looks like this is a desperate last-ditch effort to save Vance by trying to push Trump in the opposite direction. You're also seeing reports in the Daily Beast and in Axios about how Trump is about to break with Netanyahu. Certain unnamed White House aides are saying that Trump is about to have a big split with Netanyahu because Netanyahu wants the war to go on long and Trump wants to end the war quickly. I have a hunch that Trump is going to come out and deny those claims. I have a hunch that somebody's going to come out and deny that. I have a feeling that's a planted story. And I have a feeling that there is a concerted effort to try to push Trump away from this, even among, by the way, many of the people in the Bronze Age pervert Peter Thiel network. Their sole and exclusive mission is to make Vance the president. And when the U.S. and Israel went to war in Iran, many of the Thiel-backed network on social media, they said this is a terrible mistake. We should have never went to war in Iran. Because they know, like Tucker knows, like David Sacks knows, like Joe Kent knows, that the person who is most affected by a catastrophic war with Iran, it's not even Trump, it's J.D. Vance. Because he is watching in real time his chances of becoming the nominee and then the president dwindle in real time with each passing day that the war goes on. So I see this Joe Kent thing. This is an op. I smell a big op, and everybody is falling for it because the rhetoric is good. The rhetoric is mostly good. It's mostly fine. Like, it's sound. You have Joe Kent saying the Jews are bringing us to war in Iran like they did in Iraq. You know, that's good stuff. Okay, that's fine. I'm glad he's saying it. I'm glad somebody's saying it. I'm glad they're against the war. But I will also say that I don't trust these people at all. I don't trust Joe Kent. I don't trust Tucker Carlson. I don't trust any of them. And I find it highly suspicious that Joe Kent, as recently as 2024, was saying that we should give Israel foreign aid and we should bomb Iran's nukes and missile capabilities. He was saying that recently, and he has been saying it consistently for years. He's also in the CIA. They all are. Tucker's dad is in the CIA. Joe Kent is in the CIA. Peter Thiel is a CIA contractor. J.D. Vance was a Marine, then got recruited out of Yale Law School, which is a notorious recruiting ground for the CIA, and then worked for Peter Thiel regardless. So I see a lot of intelligence connections there. They're all part of a network. They're all boosting Vance for some reason, and I don't want to be taken for a ride. So I don't trust any of these people, and I find the whole thing very suspicious. So people say, well, he sounds good, he's saying all the right stuff. I'm watching this interview. This interview is a performance. The interview is a performance. Tucker and Joe Kent, it's not a real conversation. It is staged. It is a play. They are putting on a play for you. And they're talking to each other for an audience like they're dumber than they are. They're dumbing it down. They're taking it very slowly. And I think that's why. I think that is really what is going on here. And there might be some kind of foreign intelligence connection with Russia, with Iran. Maybe more on that later on a future show. But I did just want to say and clarify at the outset, because it is so important. This is the big thing that is happening in our space in the past 24 hours. I am highly, highly skeptical of all that. But anyway, I do want to move on. I want to get into the actual operations in the war. And the big story tonight is how the war is now escalating. And the situation is this. As we have talked about, we are halfway through the third week in the war. We expected, well, I don't even know what we expected. You can't even really use that word. Perhaps the president alone expected that this would be a quick and easy war, pound Iran very hard for a few days, decapitate the leadership, and a crippled and wounded Iranian regime will very quickly wave the white flag and sue for peace. Whereupon the Trump administration can impose conditions on Iran's nuclear program. That was the idea. As you know, things did not go according to Trump's plan. The Iranian regime survived. The Iranian regime maintains its capability to launch drones and ballistic missiles, and they have used that capability to attack the Persian Gulf nations of the Gulf Cooperation Council, to close the Strait of Hormuz, a vital choke point for oil, natural gas, and fertilizer, which goes out into the Indian Ocean, and to attack and degrade U.S. radar early warning systems, and to attack the state of Israel. And so the war has settled into a second phase, you can say. If the first phase was the U.S.-Israel assault, bombing runs thousands of times in the first 12, 24 hours, bombing regime targets, decapitation strikes, bombing their navy, their military hardware and infrastructure, logistics, supply chains, things like that. Now the war has settled into a second phase where it has become an attritional war, and it has become a war of economics. The United States and Israel are using their air and sea power to bomb Iran all the time and continues to decimate its leadership, continues to find and destroy its missile production and missile launch capabilities. But as long as Iran remains attacked and as long as they're able to launch drones and missiles, then they are able to shut down shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, which chokes the global energy supply, hurting the global economy, and they're able to increase the pressure on the Gulf nations by hurting their real estate, tourism, and other industries which they're trying to pivot towards. So this is the second phase. This is the grinding stalemate. This is the status quo, attritional war that the conflict has settled into, as we've talked about. And so the question facing the Trump administration is how to break the stalemate. It can't go on forever. The longer that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, there is going to be a lot of damage to the global economy. It might even trigger a global recession. Energy becomes scarce, oil prices increase, and that increases the price of everything. Fertilizer supply is constrained. That makes costs for farmers go up. That makes food more expensive. So we are facing higher inflation. There was an expectation the Federal Reserve, for example, would cut interest rates today. They're not able to do that because actually mortgages are going up. Prices are going up. Inflation appears to be ticking higher in anticipation. The economy is pricing in the long-term risks to the oil supply because of the conflict. So Trump is looking for a way out here. He's looking to break the stalemate. And there's, as we talked about, a couple of ways to do this. Either we have a truce and a ceasefire, and that allows the Strait of Hormuz to open up, and it relieves economic pressure on the United States and the world. So that's one way to break the stalemate, is effectively a strategic retreat and withdraw. The other way is we have to actually win. We have to force the Strait of Hormuz open, but this is a very complicated endeavor because the way that Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz is now mostly with drones. Not even ballistic missiles, but with suicide drones. Iran has millions of them. Millions of them. They're cheap, they're small, they're easy to produce, they're highly mobile, they can be launched from anywhere, and Iran is making more of them all the time. And so, how do you prevent Iran from closing the strait? Well, you have to make it so that they cannot launch any drones. How do you prevent them from launching any drones? It is impossible. You cannot bomb all their drones, drone production. You cannot bomb all the places where they can launch drones. You can't kill the personnel that are launching them. The only way to stop Iran from closing the strait, it appears, is to topple the government. And for a new government to come into place that orders the military to stand down. That seems to be the only way. And the only way to topple the government is to invade. It has been reported that the IRGC is actually 7 links in the chain of command deep, meaning that prior to the conflict, the highest-ranking IRGC officials, they prepared 7 layers of succession. They have a second person, third person, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh person lined up in the event that they are assassinated. And then the next guy, and the third guy, and the fourth guy. So you can't kill everybody with air power and sea power. You can't destroy every place where they're storing, launching, and making drones. The only way to win is to topple the government, and you have to do that with a ground invasion, which obviously is off the table. So Trump is looking for a third way to break the stalemate. How do we win without retreating, without escalating? And what he is trying to do is find alternative ways to force Iran to comply. Why is this so difficult? Because right now we're bombing Iran thousands of times and killing all their leaders and destroying all their weapons. So you might say, what else can we even do? What else can be done to a nation? We're dropping tons of bombs on them. We're dropping 5,000-pound bombs, maybe bunker buster bombs on them. We're literally dropping the biggest bombs thousands of times everywhere, all day, every day for weeks, and killing the leadership. So Trump is looking for a creative way to increase pressure without escalating, to avoid retreating. How do you do that? Well, as we've discussed, there's one thing that's been off limits. They're blowing up the Navy, they're blowing up the missiles, they're blowing up the regime. The one thing that the United States has left untouched is Iran's energy infrastructure. As you know, Iran is a petrostate, meaning they rely on the export of oil and gas for most of their government revenue. And so if you destroy that industry, which is not easily repaired or rebuilt, then you cripple Iran's economy. But you cripple it for years. So that's obviously, that is the one thing that we haven't hit yet. We've hit the military. We've hit the regime. We've destroyed their weapons. We've destroyed the headquarters, the airports, air bases, everything, short of the energy. Because even though destroying the energy would cripple Iran's economy, and it would take years for them to repair, so it'd be a problem for the successor regime, we have not hit it for 2 reasons. If the Trump administration bombs Iran's energy, then Iran will retaliate and bomb Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, and the Emirates' energy. They will bomb it, the Houthis will bomb it, maybe the Iraqis, maybe Hezbollah will bomb it. It will be unavoidable. And so what we do to Iran will be visited upon the Gulf. And that will be catastrophic. Because in the end, all this energy infrastructure will be destroyed, and the global supply of energy will be chronically restrained. Chronically, I should say, constricted. So you have a fifth or a third of the world's oil, depending on how you measure it, whether it's by volume of oil that moves through a sea lane or volume of oil overall. You have a fifth of the world's oil that moves through the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to be probably for 10 years taken offline. as well as liquefied natural gas, of which Qatar makes a lot of it. And that goes to Asian countries, but also Europe is reliant on it. And of course, the global supply determines the price, so it affects everybody. If you have an all-out energy war in the Persian Gulf, you have a chronic energy shortage in the whole world. And like I said, because the infrastructure is destroyed, infrastructure takes a long time to rebuild. To rebuild a refinery, a pipeline, this takes years, and it takes tons of investment. And the question is, who then is going to invest? This is the same problem in Venezuela. We can't get Venezuela to pump more oil very quickly because, one, it takes a long time. Two, who's going to put up the money with all the geopolitical risk involved? It's tenfold in the Middle East. It's going to take years. Who's going to invest? Who's going to put up the billions of dollars to do this? So if we attack Iran's energy, then they retaliate. In the end, all the energy infrastructure is destroyed. This permanently constrains the global energy supply, which means that energy is permanently high. That means inflation is permanently high. And this is something the U.S. economy just cannot stand. We already have chronically high inflation. I believe it's been since 2022. The Federal Reserve has not hit its benchmark, its target of 2% inflation. And there's a lot of debate about why this is. It could be because of quantitative easing. It could be because of COVID-era supply chain problems. There's a lot of reasons people say for the inflation right now. But this is the last thing that we need. So this would be permanently a problem for the U.S. and the global economy. So Trump doesn't want to go there. It's also a related problem. If we bomb Iran's energy infrastructure, even if they don't retaliate, that still further constrains the energy supply in the short term. And that's exactly what happened today, and we'll get into this. By bombing Iran's energy infrastructure, even in the short term, that constrains the global energy supply. Throughout the conflict, there has been oil moving through the Strait of Hormuz. It is Iranian oil, mostly going to China. If you take that offline, there's just going to be even less oil in the world than there already was with the strait closed. And then you'll have the same problem in Iran, having to repair that infrastructure. It will take a long time to bring that supply back to the global economy. And then, even if you achieve regime change in the country, it will be tough for whatever regime comes next to rebuild if they don't have their energy sector intact, if they don't have that infrastructure still in place. So for these reasons, the United States doesn't want to go there, but it seems like that is the linchpin. And this is why Trump has shifted tactics starting on last Friday. On Friday, Trump launched a major airstrike on Karg Island. Karg Island is an island in the Persian Gulf off the coast of Iran. That is where 90% of Iran's oil exports move through. Iran gets the oil on the coastline and in the Persian Gulf, refines it on the Iranian mainland, and then ships it out to the island via pipeline, where it gets picked up by tankers and then taken out of the Persian Gulf and through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is the hub for virtually all of Iran's oil. This is the critical center of Iran's energy sector. And Trump bombed it on Friday, but only the military targets. Now on Friday, I speculated that maybe that was in preparation for a invasion, for a ground force moving in and seizing the island. And that way you get a little bit of both. You're able to take control of Iran's energy without destroying the infrastructure. And so you can deprive them of the revenue without actually setting back in a permanent way the global supply of energy by destroying the infrastructure, which would take years to rebuild. That being said, an invasion of the island would be extremely difficult because it is within range of Iran's drones and missiles. So any amphibious assault on the island would surely be repelled by an Iranian drone and missile salvo launched at the Marines trying to land there. So I said on Friday, perhaps this is a gesture that indicates to Iran that if they don't open up the Strait of Hormuz, then the United States might attack the energy infrastructure on Karg Island. So the attack, by bombing the military infrastructure but not the economic energy infrastructure, Trump is threatening Iran and saying, we will do it. Maybe this is too close for comfort for you. If we're going to bomb the military infrastructure on the island, maybe the next strike is the energy. And the Iranians definitely don't want that to happen, so maybe that makes them uncomfortable, maybe that makes them more willing to negotiate. Now, over the weekend, Trump made a pitch to the global economy. He made a pitch to the world community and said, look, everybody is affected by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and some more acutely than others. And what he's talking about there is that most of the Persian Gulf oil and gas doesn't actually go to the United States or Europe. Most of it actually goes to Asia. It goes to India, China, South Korea, Japan. Most of it goes to the Indo-Pacific region. And so Trump says over the weekend, look, there is a global energy crisis. It is bleeding the United States. There's a lot of problems in the long term if we don't open up the strait. And so Trump tries to expand this to other stakeholders and says, why should we alone bear the burden of solving this problem and reopening the strait? Asia will be affected the most. They won't get the oil and gas from the Persian Gulf, so maybe they should actually help us open up the strait. They should lend their navy and their military for an allied coalition joint operation to open up the strait. He also called on NATO and said, hey, we supported your war in Ukraine. Now it's your turn to help us in the strait. And by the way, this is humiliating. This is embarrassing. Why are the Asian and European countries not going to help us? Well, they didn't start the war. So yes, Asia is worried about the constrained energy supply. And yes, Europe is worried about the effect on the price of LNG and the price of crude oil. At the same time, Europe is fighting a war against Russia. And Asia doesn't want to join a fight that really has nothing to do with them at all. This is not India's fight. It's not Japan or South. That has nothing to do with them. So Trump is effectively begging all of our allies to help us finish a war that he started. So what happened to this America alone? We have all the cards. We're the boss. We're the only country in the world. We're the king of the world. Trump went in, thought he could win quickly and easily, found out the hard way it wasn't going to go down that way. Now he's in the position of literally begging objectively inferior, weaker militaries to come to our aid and assist us, begging the United Kingdom, begging Germany, Japan, South Korea to come and help. As we talked about on Monday, over the weekend, all the countries rejected this appeal. First Japan, then Australia, South Korea, then all the European countries, France, Germany, Italy, the UK, the European Union, Poland, they all came out and said, this is not our war. That's not in the cards for us. We've ruled that out. You started it. You finish it. So Trump then says on Monday, you know what? We don't need you. Which is the best. I mean, that really encapsulates everything about this administration and about this whole conflict. So Friday, he says, we're going to have a great coalition like it's a done deal. We're going to open up the strait. Everyone should and must help us. Everybody rejects him publicly and outright and forcefully. So then he's forced earlier in the week to say, well, who needs you anyway? We don't need your help. We'll do it ourselves, and we'll just remember that. Truly pathetic. So today is Wednesday. This is why the timeline is so important here. On Wednesday, today, Israel launches a major strike on Iran's gas fields, the southern Pars gas fields. Iran immediately retaliates, and they bomb Qatar's gas, the Emiratis' gas, and Saudi Aramco, their oil refineries. And what happens? The price of oil surges to $120 a barrel. It had stabilized. I said this, I think, yesterday or on Monday. The price of oil had stabilized at around about $90, $100 a barrel. This is after it spiked past $100 not last weekend, but the weekend before that. Today, oil exploded, even though Trump is trying to contain that, trying to contain the price shock by opening up these strategic oil reserves, changing some regulations, allowing Venezuela to export more oil. In spite of all of his efforts to limit the effects of the supply shock, now the oil has exploded because the war has entered now a third phase where we, the U.S. and Israel coalition, are openly targeting Iran's energy infrastructure, and they are responding in kind. Now, this is a story from the Wall Street Journal about the strike. It says, quote, Israel struck the giant South Pars gas field that Iran shares with Qatar, by far the largest in the world. Iran quickly retaliated with an attack on a major gas hub in Qatar, just across the Gulf, and a missile barrage fired at the Saudi capital, Riyadh, with debris landing near a refinery. Israel and Iran had already hit energy facilities throughout the nearly 3-week war, but Wednesday's attacks struck some of the world's most important hubs and raised the prospect of tit-for-tat volleys against oil and gas facilities. President Trump approved of the strike to pressure Iran to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. The official said Trump believes Tehran received the message and now wants to refrain from further strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure. Days earlier, Trump considered whether attacking Iranian energy sites could be part of an escalatory campaign against Iran, hitting one target and gauging Iran's reaction. If Iran didn't cede to U.S. demands, there would be more bombings of energy targets. Qatar condemned the attack as a dangerous escalation and a direct threat to its national security. Benchmark Brent oil futures shot up to close to $110 a barrel, and European gas prices surged 6% in the hours following the news. Arab governments were furious about Israel's attack and the U.S. failure to head it off. So this is part of a strategy. Trump bombed Karg Island on Friday, not the energy infrastructure, but just the military assets. And the message was unmistakable. He was saying, if Iran doesn't open up the strait, then we'll target your energy. In the meantime, he made his plea to the world. Help us militarily take the strait. They refused. So Trump moved in with Israel to then escalate it, and he went from Karg Island military assets to Iran's gas field in the Persian Gulf, anticipating then that Iran would bomb Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the Emirates. Now, why did Trump allow this to happen? Well, first of all, he knows that the only way to pry the Strait of Hormuz open without regime change or a ceasefire is that he's going to need to make it hurt more for Iran. The only way to do that is to hit their energy. And he needs them to be sure that he's serious. He needs them to know that he will actually cross that line. So this was the strategy. Hit Karg Island, see what they do. They did nothing. Hit one of their oil and gas hubs, see what they do. If they do nothing, hit another one, until they open up the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why did he wait until today to do this? Well, what he said over the weekend is, if Japan and South Korea and India and China, if they are the ones that are actually getting the Iranian oil and gas exports, then they should help us. If they won't help us, then we will hurt Iran's oil and gas industry. Because who will that affect the most? That will actually affect, first and foremost, the countries that actually get the oil and gas from Iran, which is China, India, less so Japan, South Korea. So Trump said, if you don't help us, well, we will be forced to take matters into our own hand and escalate. We will start an energy war that will hurt you the most. If we bomb Iran's oil and gas and then they bomb Qatar, the Saudis, and the Emiratis, who is going to be without oil and gas? Who's actually going to face the most acute energy shock? It's going to be the Pacific countries and European countries, which are now dependent. dependent on LNG, they will feel the price shock as well. We are good. We're a net exporter of energy. Now, there's some complications. We still import a lot of energy for reasons having to do with our energy infrastructure, but we're not going to feel it as much as the Europeans and definitely not as much as the Asians. So Trump, by bombing Iran's energy, knowing they will retaliate against the Gulf, that is his way of punishing the allies that did not assist. He said, okay, if you won't help us open up the strait, we'll have to figure out our own way, and that involves hurting your economies. That involves hurting everybody involved. Now, there's a big question about who actually authorized the strike, because as I said, this is an Israel strike. Israel, in the early phases of the war, targeted Iran's energy infrastructure, and the United States told them, don't do that again. If you attack their energy in the future, tell us in advance. So when Israel bombed Iran's gas fields today, it was assumed that they had told the United States and gotten their approval. And it was reported earlier in the day that the Trump administration approved the strike. But all of that changed in the evening. Trump put out a statement on Truth Social and said, actually, the United States didn't know. He said, we didn't know, and we want the energy warfare to stop, and that if Iran keeps bombing Qatar, then we will retaliate, but we're not going to attack Iran's energy any further. This is a statement on Truth Social. This is Trump. He said, quote, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as the South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The U.S. knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case Qatar, in which instance the U.S., with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications it will have on the future of Iran, but if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Israel bombs Iran's energy after Trump told them 2 weeks ago, don't do that again, and if you're planning on it, get our approval first. It was reported this afternoon that Trump gave Israel permission. Now Trump denies it. And Trump is telling Iran, look, you didn't know, but we didn't give permission. And so if you bombed Qatar, we'll grant that that was a mistake on your part. Trump says Israel will not attack again. But if you attack Qatar again, if this, in other words, becomes an energy war, if you've called my bluff, in other words, then we will go in, the United States will go in, and we will completely bomb your energy infrastructure. Now, what are we doing? So, what is going on here? First, they say Trump knew about it. Now, he says he didn't know about it. 2 weeks ago, Israel bombed Iran, and we told them don't do it again. Now they do it again, and we say, well, we had no idea. And what this looks like to me is that Trump obviously approved the strike, so he's just lying here. I think he's obviously lying. And like I said, I think this was the strategy all along. Hit Karg Island, wait and see. Our allies didn't help us. Iran didn't open up the strait, so we gave Israel permission to launch a limited strike on the gas field. Wait and see. What will Iran do? Well, Iran maintains the ability to retaliate. Even though the ballistic missile launches are decreasing, the drone strikes are increasing. And now there's hundreds of drones being launched every day at all these countries, at the Persian Gulf, at tankers. Speedboats are intercepting tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran retaliates quickly. And Qatar is one of the world's biggest hubs for LNG. As far as LNG is concerned, It's really just Qatar. It's not so much Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the Emirates, Kuwait. It's really just Qatar. And LNG is in very short supply. It's a very hot commodity. LNG is how Europe has replaced Russian natural gas, which used to flow from the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines. And so now they're dependent on LNG. Japan needs LNG. China, India, they need LNG. And so if this becomes an energy war, if we're trying to put pressure on Iran through energy, they're going to give it back in full. And they're really going to hurt the Persian Gulf. And that's going to hurt everybody. Because like I said, that is going to limit the global supply of energy indefinitely. Oil and gas for Asia, and then that supply shock will affect everybody. Prices are going to go up, fuel and energy costs will go up, and the price of everything will then go up. And if the price of energy goes up, well, you can forget about AI, which is dependent on compute, I guess, which is the ability of computers to do AI. And our whole economy is growing through data centers and AI. In other words, there's this contagion effect. This is going to spiral out of control very quickly. So Trump is looking for a way to break the stalemate out of desperation, launches this energy war. He's going to hit the one thing that we have not attacked, thinking that Iran will buckle, but Iran called our bluff and said, if you hit the southern Pars gas field, well, fine, we'll hit Qatar. Now Trump says, whoa, we didn't authorize the strike. We promised we won't do any more energy warfare, so you better not do any either, because if you do, well, then we'll retaliate. So what are we doing? What is the strategy? What it looks like to me, Trump authorized the strike. Iran did not buckle. They retaliated harder. This whole thing is about to spiral out of control because Iran called our bluff, and now Trump is trying to get in front of it. That's what that looks like to me. So yet again, we have no plan. It's the same story over and over. We're going to bomb Iran. Oh, they closed the Strait of Hormuz. We didn't anticipate that. Okay, well, we're going to attack their energy facilities. Oh, they responded in kind. We didn't anticipate that. We can't have it go that far. So this leads me to my next point here operationally in the war. Now, Trump is talking about reinforcing the ground forces in the Persian Gulf with thousands of soldiers. Simultaneously, the Pentagon is asking Congress for $200 billion to prosecute the war. And these are those stories. This is about the ground forces. It says, quote, the Trump administration is considering deploying thousands of U.S. troops to reinforce its operation in the Middle East as the U.S. military prepares for possible next steps in its campaign against Iran. The deployments could provide Trump with additional options as he weighs expanding U.S. operations with the Iran war well into its third week. Those options include securing a safe passage for oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, a mission that would be accomplished primarily through air and naval forces. But securing the strait could also mean deploying troops to the shoreline of Iran. The Trump administration has also discussed options to send ground forces to Karg Island, the hub for 90% of Iran's oil exports. Iran has the ability to reach the island with missiles and drones. Trump administration officials have also discussed the possibility of deploying U.S. forces to secure Iran's stocks of highly enriched uranium. The sources mentioned did not believe a deployment of ground forces anywhere was imminent, but declined to discuss specifics of U.S. operational planning. So they have 5,000 U.S. Marines on 3 amphibious assault vessels headed to the Persian Gulf. To do what? Nobody knows. The administration is talking about deploying thousands of additional ground forces. Already got 50,000 U.S. personnel in the region. And they say that Trump is hell-bent on forcing the strait open. How do you do that? Well, they say they're going to use air power, sea power, and yes, they're going to invade Iran's coastline. They're going to invade the coast near the Strait of Hormuz and on the Persian Gulf to accomplish what? I imagine to prevent drones and missiles from being fired there and push back the radius of drones and missiles from being launched. But of course, that shoreline will be within the radius of drones and missiles that are further inland in the country. How do you do that? Maybe establish a beachhead, set up some kind of missile defense radius on the beachhead?
No problem.
I don't even know how that would work. This is now getting into advanced military planning, but maybe something like that? That seems to be the plan. Moreover, the Pentagon is seeking $200 billion for the war. This is that story. It says, quote, the Pentagon has asked the White House to approve a $200 billion request to Congress to fund the war. That number would far surpass the cost of the administration's massive airstrike campaign to degrade, or rather to date, and instead seek to urgently increase production of critical weaponry expended as U.S. and Israeli forces have struck thousands of targets over the past 3 weeks, according to 3 other people familiar with the matter. It remains unclear how much the White House will ultimately ask congressional lawmakers to approve. Some White House officials do not think the Pentagon's request has a realistic shot of being approved in Congress. The Pentagon has floated several different proposed funding requests over the past 2 weeks. By December, Congress had approved roughly $200 billion in spending for the war in Ukraine. The cost of the war in Iran has rapidly grown, exceeding $11 billion in the first week alone. Shortly after the joint U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign began last month, the Trump administration started preparing an additional funding request to help cover the costs. So it's very clear that they are planning something bigger here. Right now, the USS Gerald Ford has actually left the theater of conflict and gone to a port in Greece because they need to make repairs. They say that the bathrooms exploded, the kitchen had a fire, and now the whole aircraft carrier is inoperable, so it's left the Red Sea and is going to Greece. Now you only got one aircraft carrier there, the USS Abraham Lincoln. They say the Gerald Ford will be in repairs for at least a week, then it's going to come back. You got thousands of Marines headed there. You got additional thousands of ground forces being deployed. The war is costing $1.9 billion per day. They're preparing a $200 billion funding request. Clearly, they are preparing some kind of ground operation. It's just like the initial bombing campaign. First, they're talking about it, discussing it, planting stories in the media. They're considering options. Then it becomes operations. Then it becomes the news. So it's clear that Trump is not able to win with energy war. Not going to happen. He's not able to open the strait by bombing the leadership. He actually wants to pry the strait open with some kind of invasion. He's going to send, it looks like, a U.S. force to the strait or the island to try to take Iranian territory, establish a beachhead, and then, at the minimum, even if they're not able to force the Iranian regime to completely capitulate, they can alleviate the economic pressure and collapse the regime as they're able to move the oil through the strait. That seems to be the strategy. And that's crazy. This is a country, as we've talked about, that has 90 million people. It's huge. It's all mountains. And they're all soldiers. They have 1 million soldiers. They have 200,000 IRGC. They got another 400,000 regular ground forces. They got hundreds of thousands of militiamen. And we're going to invade this country? We don't even have a military big enough. If we had every member of the U.S. military invade Iran, it probably wouldn't be enough. And we're going to go in there with a tiny ground force. There are some reports that say we will go in with the Gulf countries, with the Kurds, Israeli intelligence, U.S. air power, and that there's going to be some kind of tactical invasion. This is totally insane. How is this going to work? And then what? They're going to get on the shoreline and then they're going to get hit with drones and missiles there. Or they're going to get ambushed, IEDs. How long are they going to be there? Days, weeks, months, years? And what happens when we sustain heavy casualties? Let's say we try to invade on the shoreline. We're going to retreat after a ton of Americans die? Now they say that the Gulf countries, they want us to collapse the Iranian regime before we leave. They say now that Iran is bombing all of their cities and their energy and their airports, Now the Gulf countries view Iran as an existential threat, and they want us to finish the job and collapse the regime before we leave. This is how you get drawn in. When we say we're going to war with Iran, nobody said Trump might make the judicious decision to launch a limited strike on Iran consistent with our interests, but not outside of them, aligned with Israel, but not totally identical. No. People said we would get drawn into a war, dragged into a war. What does that mean? What's the denotative meaning of those words? When we say dragged, when we say drawn, we mean that it is a gradual process where you have mission creep, where the goals keep changing, where one thing leads to another, and over time, that there is a pressure, there is a narrowing of options and possibilities that ultimately leads to a full-fledged war. That's what we're talking about. Nobody said the risk is that Trump might do, like I said, a limited tactical operation to achieve U.S. objectives, only U.S. objectives, No. We said we would be dragged gradually into a war, and we would wake up one day and find ourselves inside of a conflict that nobody wanted. We would find ourselves in a conflict far wider and far deeper and going on for far longer than anybody ever conceived of, that anybody ever wanted, that nobody voted for, which is what happened in Iraq and Syria and Libya and Yemen and everywhere. That was always the risk. Now, why do I say this? Because last year, people saw the bombing of Midnight Hammer, and they said, see, we didn't go to war. We did one airstrike, and then we left. Mission accomplished. Yeah, but see, Midnight Hammer made Epic Fury inevitable. And people said the same thing about killing Soleimani. They said, killing Soleimani, that's a good thing.
What the hell is this?
We're not anti-war. We're not isolationists. That's not a war. We just killed one guy. I think I may have said that in 2020 when it happened, because I didn't understand the bigger picture back then. I think I was more agnostic about it back then, but now I see how one thing has led to another. This has been going on for decades. We have gradually, step by step, been drawn in. And the Israelis always tell us, well, it's just this. Now it's just this other thing. Now it's just this next thing. And with every strike, diplomacy becomes less likely to succeed. There is less trust between Tehran and Washington. There is less of a possibility for diplomacy to prevail. And then war becomes inevitable. And as time goes on, the goals of the war, the bounds of the war, these are always expanding. And that's precisely what happened here. Maybe we went in to degrade their missiles, but then they closed the Strait of Hormuz. So now we got to open it back up. But guess what? Israel killed Iran's supreme leader. How are they going to make peace now? Israel went out of their way to kill all the leadership, which makes them hate us. It radicalizes them more. It rallies the people around the government. But what's more, they've gone out of their way to kill the members of the leadership that are more likely to make peace. So maybe we went in thinking we're going to neutralize an imminent threat, we're going to destroy some missiles and go home. Israel made it impossible for us to make peace because they killed the supreme leader, they killed the leadership, and specifically killed the leadership that was more moderate. And so now we're stuck. Now the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We killed their leader. They don't want to make a deal. They, in a way, can't make a deal. And we have to fight to the finish because we can't leave now. We got to prevent them from controlling the world's energy supply, which is what would happen if we left. We would cede that to them. And now that Iran is bombing the Gulf countries, this is an existential threat to them. If the Emirates is trying to build an economy on tourism, banking, technology, entertainment, how can they do that when they have drones bombing their malls and hotels and airports? They can't. So now they're all in on Iranian regime change. And they're going to lobby us to be all in. And this is how it goes. Israel bombs Iran's energy. Iran bombs the Gulf's energy. Now the Gulf wants Iran to die. This is how you get sucked in. Then we're going to go in. If no other country will help us, if we are not able to withdraw, if Israel wants the fighting to go outside the U.S. commitment, well, then we need to open up the strait. How are we going to do it? Ground forces. What's going to happen? Many of them are going to die. What happens in a war where you have hundreds of dead Americans? Is that going to de-escalate things or escalate things? Does that increase our commitment or lessen it? And as time goes on, we're only approaching the day when an Iranian sleeper cell goes off and kills a bunch of civilians. Just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. That's what it feels like before we are fully fledged in a ground war with Iran. That's how all this is shaping up. That's what it looks like to me. I don't see a way out of it. And in the meantime, there might be a temporary ceasefire or truce. I doubt it, but it's possible. And what all the reports say is that they're going to watch and wait for Iran's society to collapse. You have a truce, have a ceasefire, and that is just going to be a deferring of the fighting. And in the meantime, Mossad and CIA are going to prepare the ground force. The Kurds, anti-government civilians, some kind of U.S. ground force. So even if we don't invade Iran tomorrow, the day is going to come when Iran has regime change and U.S. ground forces are going to be a part of it. And it will be a gradual process, how we get sucked in to yet another war. It's what it is. So that's the current state of the conflict. We're going to be monitoring the situation. Pay close attention. Don't believe anything the president says. It's just unbelievable. He has no idea what he's doing. He's totally out to lunch. He's 100 years old. Every day he contradicts himself. A Tomahawk missile kills the schoolgirls at that school in Tehran. He says, well, that was an Iranian projectile. Oh, actually, it might have been ours. This is a regime change war. Actually, we mostly won. The war's coming to an end quickly. Actually, we're in it for the long haul. We have a coalition open the strait. Never mind, we don't need them anyway. I approved Israel's strike. Actually, I had no idea. There's no plan here. There's no plan. He's making it up as he goes along. He's going off of his gut. He's not going off the intelligence. He's not listening to anybody. This is totally ad hoc, totally flying by the seat of his pants. And, maybe that wouldn't be a problem, except that Israel has a plan. Okay, Israel has a strategy. They have a plan. This is their Super Bowl. They've been waiting a long, long time for this. So Trump stumbled into this conflict. No idea what would happen. No plan, no contingency. And Netanyahu, the master, the maestro, who's orchestrating the whole thing, he knows exactly how this has to go. The tempo, whether we're going fast or slow. He knows what he wants from this. He knows what he wants out of Trump. And Trump is just being fed propaganda through Fox News every day, which Israel controls. That's where we are. I told you so. I told you this is how it would be. People said, I can't believe it. I just can't see it, Nick. I saw it. I was playing Dark and Darker with some BAP guy, some BAP meathead, some meathead bodybuilder sunning his balls. Why like BAP book? BAP book been out how long? Faggot. I liked the guy. He was nice enough or whatever. But I was playing Dark and Darker with this BAP chud, sunning his balls, all that nonsense. And I said, listen, motherfucker. I said, Trump is bringing us to war with Iran. Do you support that? He goes, I don't know, dude. I just don't see that. Or whatever. But I was playing Dark and Meathead. Some meathead bodybuilder sunning his balls. Why like BAP book? That book been out how long? Faggot. And I like the guy. He was nice enough or whatever. Some bap meathead. Some meathead bodybuilder sunning his balls. I like that book. That book been out how long? Faggot. And I like the guy. He was nice enough or whatever. But I was playing Dark and Dark. Some meathead bodybuilder sunning his balls. I like that book. That book been out how long? Faggot. And I like the guy. He was nice enough or whatever. But I was playing Dark and Darker with this BAP chud, sunning his balls, all that nonsense. And I said, listen, motherfucker. I said, Trump is bringing us to war with Iran. Do you support that? He goes, I don't know, dude. I just don't see that happening. I don't know. I just don't see that happening. Because you're not paying attention. You don't see it because you're not looking. Because your eyes aren't open. Because you are asleep. So how would you see it? People are soundly asleep, eyes closed, snoring and kicking and carrying on, dreaming about a golden age, dreaming about Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio dancing to Staying Alive, and they go, I don't know, I just can't see it. I can't see Trump going to war with Iran. That's because you're asleep. You're in the Matrix. Your eyes are closed. My eyes are wide open and have been, and I'm awake. I'm an awakened goy. It was obvious it was going here. I told you it would be like this. But you didn't listen to me. If you actually cared, you'd be here. Remember when... But it's true.
Yes.
It was obvious it was going here. I told you it would be like this. But you didn't listen to me. If you actually cared, you'd be here. Remember when...
No.
But it's true. And now we pay the price. I told... Of all the words of tongue and pen, the saddest are these. Nick Fuentes was right again. You called me a Democrat. Fuck you. People said, you know what people said? They said that I didn't get charged in January 6th because the Biden DOJ forced me to take a deal. And they said the contents of the deal were that I would have to support Democrats in politics to stay out of jail. So my handler from the Biden government is checking in on me. Did you support the Democrats today? Yes, sir. Please don't arrest me. Because I was saying that Trump would bring us to war in Iran. Yeah, well, I guess you were wrong. And I was right. You were wrong. I was right. You voted for this. F you. You fell for it again. I'm right about everything. Serves you right. You trusted a Jew. Trump is a Jew. You trusted him. Serves you right. MAGA. LOL. MAGA. MAGA. How about LOL? There won't be a lot of LOL or LMAO when you're MAGAing. Because it's all MIGA. It's all Make Israel Great Again.
Oh, shit.
So people are going to be saying, OMG. Yeah, well, I guess you were wrong. And I was right. You were wrong. I was right. You voted for this. F you. You fell for it again. I'm right about everything. Serves you right. You trusted a Jew. Trump is a Jew. And you trusted him. Serves you right. MAGA. LOL. MAGA. MAGA. How about LOL? There won't be a lot of LOL or LMAO when you're MAGAing. Because it's all MIGA. It's all Make Israel Great Again.
Hey,
so people are going to be saying, OMG, when we're dropping bombs on
Yeah,
Iran.
dude. Kick ass, bro.
Right. You were wrong. I was right. You
Kick
voted for
fucking
this.
ass.
F you. You fell for it again. I'm right about everything. Serves you right. You trusted a Jew. Trump is a Jew. And you trusted him. Serves you right. MAGA. LOL. MAGA. MAGA. How about LOL? There won't be a lot of LOL or LMAO when you're MAGAing because it's all MIGA. It's all Make Israel Great Again. So people are going to be saying OMG when we're dropping bombs on Iran. Crazy. Crazy. Anyway, oh, great again. So people are going to be saying OMG when we're dropping bombs on Iran. Crazy. Crazy. We got to get into the super chats. It's true. But I'm so mad. To quote a friend, I am so mad right now. It's crazy. It's crazy that I told you. People say everything, saying that Trump would bring us to war in Iran. Yeah, well, I guess you were wrong. And I was right. You were wrong. I was right. You voted for this. F you. You fell for it again. I'm right about everything. Serves you right. You trusted a Jew. Trump is a Jew. And you trusted him. Serves you right. MAGA. LOL. MAGA? MAGA? How about LOL? There won't be a lot of LOL or LMAO when you're MAGAing because it's all MIGA. It's all Make Israel Great Again. So people are going to be saying OMG when we're dropping bombs on Iran. Crazy. Crazy. Anyway, we got to move on. We got to get into the super chats. It's true. But I'm so mad. To quote a friend, I am so when you're MAGAing because it's all MIGA. It's all Make Israel Great Again. So people are going to be saying OMG when we're dropping bombs on Iran. Crazy. Crazy. Anyway, we got to move on. We got to get into the super chats. It's true. But I'm so mad. To quote a friend, I am so mad right now. It's crazy. It's crazy that I told you exactly how it would go, and you just didn't believe me. Do you hate me? Do you hate me? Why do you hate me? I'm right about everything. I am a genius, and you didn't listen to me. Why? Why didn't you? You thought you were smarter than me? You're not. What, you think you're better than me? You're not. Why didn't you listen? I was correct. My arguments were sound. It's because you like Trump more than me. Well, you learned your lesson. I hope this is a lesson. Never doubt Nick Fuentes. That's your lesson for the day. Anyway, I'm having a little fun with it, but I am being totally serious. I am being absolutely serious. We're joking around a little bit. It's funny, though, isn't it? And not really, but in a way. It's like, seriously, I wake up every day and I'm like, wow, we're really doing this. We're really in a war with Iran, and Trump brought us here. If only someone told us this 2 years ago, we could have prevented it. But people said, Nick, it's the lesser of two evils. We'll tweet about it after the election. Oh, okay. And what do you think? Susie Wiles is going to kick down the door of the Oval Office? Mr. President, you have to see this. Captive Dreamer just tweeted. Do you really think that's how it works? We would have been better off with Kamala. What, did you just fall out of a coconut tree? You exist within the context of all in which you live and what came before you. Never forget that. Never forget that. Kamala tried to warn us. She said, we're not going back to slavery under the Jews. And I was like, dude, so true. But you thought we were going to be pumping our fists, saying YMCA. Everybody that did the dance must die now. You do realize that, right? Everyone that did the MAGA dance, you realize you must die now, right? No, I'm kidding. No violence, but imagine, I hope you feel dumb. I hope you feel like an idiot. Every person that did the dance, I hope you feel like the biggest dumbass clown, brown clown ever. Imagine you are like go in a time machine back to 2024. Okay, whatever you were doing in 2024. Go back in a time machine. You're doing your little dance saying, this is me on my way to vote for a golden age. This is me on my way to vote for mass deportations. Listen up, you got 100 days until Stephen Miller deports you.
Motherfucker.
Now look at us. How does that make you feel? You were dancing as you voted for this. You were dancing. You were doing that stupid dance to that stupid faggoty song while you voted to die for Israel and Iran.
Damn.
That is the wages of voting Republican. Never forget that. Now, this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to move on. Listen and listen well. Don't blame it on Israeli intelligence. Don't blame it on the bad advisors. This is Trump's fault. Trump did this. Trump is the president of the United States. If the Israelis were threatening to kill him, that is. Actually, you have to be a martyr then. If the implication is Trump couldn't keep us out of the war because then they would kill him, well, that's actually what's involved when you run the country, when you're the president of the United States. Time to nut up. Okay? That's your obligation. You're not okay with that? Don't run for president. Trump did this. Trump did this. He's not a woman. Okay? You cannot absolve him of responsibility. Well, his bad advisors made him do it. Well, his bad advisors aren't the president of the United States. The bad advisors weren't on the ballot in November. Trump was. Don't tell me it was bad intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard is the DNI. Joe Kent was the director of national intelligence or counterterrorism. They weren't on the ballot either, and they didn't authorize the strikes. Trump did. Voting for Trump got you this. You voted for this. Don't tell me I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. Trump said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Netanyahu gave a speech to a joint session of Congress. He hugged Trump in Mar-a-Lago. Yes, you did vote for this. You voted for this, and Trump is giving you this. Tucker told you to vote for this at the RNC. Candace Owens told you to vote for this on her show. They all did. Ian Carroll told you to vote for this because of RFK Jr. and his best friend Rabbi Shmuley. They all told you to vote for this. They were wrong. You were wrong. The Republicans did this. Listen and listen well. Don't let them trick you and make the same mistake again. In 2026, vote for this. They were wrong. You were wrong. The Republicans did this. Listen and listen well. Don't let them trick you and make the same mistake again. In 2026, vote Republican. It will be different. Why would it be any different? Why would it be different? Vote in 28. We got to salvage Vance. Why? Vance? And Jr. and his best friend Rabbi Shmuley. They all told you to vote for this. They were wrong. You were wrong. The Republicans did this. Listen and listen well. Don't let them trick you and make the same mistake again. In 2026, vote Republican. It will be different. Why would it be any different? Why would it be different? Vote in 28. We got to salvage Vance. Why? Vance is the vice president right now. He encouraged Trump to bomb Iran. He said to bomb Iran at the RNC in 2024. Why would it be any different? That's the part they won't tell you. That's the limited hangout. Now, this is not me saying, hey, the Democrats are not controlled by Israel. They are too. But here's the plan. In 2026, we need to shut this administration down. Who's going to do it? Democrats. It's a midterm. Do you know what that means? Trump is not on the ballot. The House is, and a third of the Senate. If the Democrats gain control of the House, they will get oversight powers. What is oversight powers? Subpoena, deposition, compelling the release of documents. They can form subcommittees. And what they will do is they will investigate the Trump government. They will slow it down because they have a political incentive to do so. Republicans won't hold other Republicans accountable. It's a structural thing. They need money from the Republican committee. They need the Republican leadership to give them committee assignments and other forms of patronage. So the Democrats, because of political necessity, they will use oversight powers as a blunt weapon against the Trump administration. No, they're not based. No, they're not anti-Israel. No, they're not any of those things. But because they are set against, structurally aligned against the GOP, they will slow the administration down. If this administration is controlled by Jews in Israel doing all this harm, that's a good thing. That's why I'm telling people to vote Democrat this year. It's not because I'm under any illusions. I'm voting Democrat to be an obstruction, an impediment to this administration from the executive branch of the government. Because the House will use its oversight. There's checks and balances to check the power of the executive branch, and it will slow down this Israel-occupied, out-of-control administration. Step 2, in 2028, we need someone to run in the Democrat or Republican primary who is actually America first. I don't care which one. I'm not going to vote for Gavin Newsom. I'm not going to vote for J.D. Vance. I'm not going to vote for Josh Shapiro. I'm not going to vote for Marco Rubio. 2028, we need to be prepared to say we will vote for anybody in a Democrat primary, in a Republican primary, who will put America first. But nobody from this administration who has brought us to war in Iran, nobody who has taken AIPAC money or Adelson money, nobody who's taken J Street money, nobody who's taken Jewish money can even be in consideration. And that's what we're playing for. Do not be tricked and deceived into getting right back on the hamster wheel and being part of the machine. We got to get out there and hold the line, whatever. That's the part they won't tell you. Because Tucker has a candidate. It'll be J.D. Vance. Tucker might even run. And you know what he's going to do? If Tucker runs for office, he is going to be a spoiler. You're going to be excited about it. You're going to love it. And you know what Tucker's going to do? Ted Cruz will run also. Tucker is going to grill Ted Cruz on Israel. He's going to grill Marco Rubio on Israel. And he will take all the blows, all the damage. He will be called an anti-Semite. He will be the Israel-critical candidate. But he'll never win. He'll drop out, and he'll endorse J.D. Vance. And that way J.D. Vance doesn't have to get in the mud. He won't have to get his hands dirty. He won't have to take a position on Israel. He won't have to get into the scrum with the others. He won't have to get dirty and get ugly. Tucker will do that and bow out. At least this is my vision in 28. I don't think Tucker seriously thinks he's going to be president. I don't think he even wants to be president. That's why they groomed J.D. That's why they groomed J.D. to be the guy. J.D. is still their guy. So when Tucker says, well, I might run, either that's just sensationalism to get clicks, that's just a load of fucking garbage, or if he is considering running, it's some convoluted operation like that. Mark my words. We weren't born yesterday. So, and they're going to try to prevent the emergence of a real America First candidate. Suck all the oxygen out of the room for Groyper, take all the blows from the Jewish lobby, and then bow out and throw all that support to Vance. I think that's the op here. If there is one. So, we have to be very shrewd. It all has to do with the elections. Yes, the elections do matter. If they didn't matter, they wouldn't put so much effort and money into media. People say, does voting even matter? Yeah, but it's how you use it. If voting didn't matter, why would they care about the media? They deeply care about the media. That's why Andrew Tate is in jail. Why is Andrew Tate in jail? Why does the UK want him dead? Because he was too influential. Why was that a problem? Because if you're too influential, you can get people to do things. Vote, demonstrate, whatever. Same goes for Alex Jones. Why did they target Alex Jones? Massive audience. Massive audience. Why would they care about the opinion of the masses if the masses could do nothing? So, and anyway, it doesn't all come down to voting. In the meantime, you should still be leveling up and doing your part. But if we're going to engage in the political system, let's be wise about it. Let's be smart. Let's not be dumb and just vote Republican, which is what Tucker told us to do. I've yet to see a reckoning with that. Tucker told us to vote for Trump. He still doesn't critique Trump. Well, he wants to lobby Trump in the future. Oh, okay, yeah, because that's super effective, right? Anyway, but that's that. We are going to move on. Let's take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this. Let me see. Okay. Let's get set up here. This app is still broken. Still have half the super chats from yesterday on the screen, but it's fine.
Mormon Grower sent $20. Don't grow the beard. Also, I love the USA sip.
You don't want... Okay, well, someone doesn't want...
Jonathan Hartney sent Alpine Slide Grow 8% $25. Almost paralyzed my brother on an Alpine sled at 30 miles per hour. Forced sled pilot because Hasid was taking photos. W flip phone after blind turn.
Okay.
USMC Grower sent $20. Jews push diversity and ran to divide the people against the regime, but tell white people that it's our strength in the West. Raise it their right hand. Grower sent $20. I seriously admire your ability to call out elites and name the names. Nobody does it like you. America first.
Thank you.
Charles
Very
sent
important,
$25.
yes.
I was reading it right up today on Twitter, endorsed by Ted Cruz, which claims you, Catholic integralists, Dugin, multipolarists, and Carlson and co. are trying to hollow out the evangelical base to spurn Israel. I know you dislike Dugin and Tucker, but what do you make of this new ploy to triangulate your agendas?
I don't think there's a ploy to try. I don't even know what that means. When you say there's a ploy to triangulate, or I don't even know what that fucking means. Ted Cruz tweeted something. I don't know what tweet that is. But certainly Tucker is trying to attack the evangelical base to break the political electoral support for Israel. And ostensibly, I'm not doing that with evangelicals. I'm doing that with, like, Zoomers. I don't think evangelicals particularly like me. So, I don't know. That's kind of like a ham-fisted pattern.
Larry Silverstein is a piece of shit that will consent
Sounds
$20.
dumb.
Nick, remember when Roseanne Barr said America can't survive without Israel? Lol, what's up now, Roseanne? Fat bitch. How is Israel doing it? Beth Murray sent $20. Told ChatGPT make poster/feature grower for the Nick Flint.
I don't know. That's kind of like a ham-fisted pattern.
Larry Silverstein is a piece of shit that will consent
Sounds
$20.
dumb.
Nick, remember when Roseanne Barr said America can't survive without Israel? Lol, what's up now, Roseanne? Fat bitch. How is Israel doing it? Beth Murray sent $20. Told ChatGPT make poster/feature grower for the Nick Fuentes story. Said can't help create material on Nick and then movement. Smiley face emoji.
That's crazy.
Lana Del Rey grower sent $20. If a viewer of yours isn't voting Democrat in 2026, it means they think they know better than you. Unless they predicted everything exactly right like you did, they need to STFU, know their role, and vote for Democrats in the House. Never be back. Fake Merrill is likely Mossad. No e-girls ever. Not even once. Anonymous sent $20. So now with Kristi Noem getting fired, it looks like Markwayne Mullin is Trump's choice to fill her funds.
It doesn't matter. It comes from the top. It comes from the top. Trump doesn't want mass deportations. It's not going to happen.
Yagi 40.30 sent $20. W to the America First merch graphic designer.
Yeah,
Panama
big
Al sent
W.
$25. The word jewelry sounds like the way Joe Pesci says jewelry in Home Alone. Bugman sent $20. Congratulations to Richard Strasser on the album sponsorship. He's a true alpha male and has deserved this for a long time.
Very true,
Howard
yeah.
Brigadier sent $20. William has been putting out really good content. I thought you and him were more connected.
I don't know. I've never really talked to him. But yeah, he's putting out some good content. For
Nick Seal sent $20. Looking into last night's show, unsurprisingly, nearly every news article, tweet, or vague mention of Joe Kat's former support of Israel has been wiped from the internet or pushed to the ass crack of the algorithm. Please stop his reputation-altering op of all-time niggery in his opinion.
It really isn't, though. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. What are you talking about? Trump reposted that.
Edmund Fitzroy sent $100. I'm sure the irony of the Irish and Italians having to team up to save America is not lost on our like and want ancestors.
Yeah, thank you for the big super chat. It's true. My grandma hates Italians. My Irish grandma hates Italians, which is funny. And yeah, the Irish destroyed Little Italy. Mayor Daley destroyed Little Italy in Chicago. So, but we got to come together. It's one struggle. It's one struggle. You know, we are one of the American sub-races. Let's say you got WASPs, And then you got Italian and Irish. We're like an American sub race. We all have to work together.
Heather Carlson sent $25. Glad to see you taking the Gale Bill. Keep Patty Mexing with the Mexicans. We can handle the Ronnie Anglords.
Hell yeah.
Cinema is Boyslav sent $100. Clav is having incel Spurks donate $30K for 60 seconds of looks maxing, and you're here talking about Joe Cat for 3 hours every day. Newsboy. Index pointing at the viewer emoji. Clown face emoji.
I admitted it. Clav was right. Thank you for the big super chat. I already conceded that. Clav is right. Politics is jester. It's true. I've accepted
Ranger
that.
sent $50. The scale of damage to Israel and casualties by Iran are being suppressed by Western media, according to journalist C.J. Worldman. Pakistan media recently alleged destruction of Ben Gurion Airport.
Who knows what's real and what's fake?
Meeblemore sent $20. Tucker asked you if you were working for Teal at the dinner before your interview because he wanted to know if you both were on the same team. Imperial Garment sent $21. My shirts don't have an eagle holding a flag. They look sick. All black with a little gold. Minimalistic. Made for girl hammers.
Sounds like bullshit.
West Supreme sent $20. Hey Nick, absolutely love the show and what you're doing for the movement. Do you think you would go on Fish Tank this season if asked?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, I like those guys. I like what they're doing, but it's just not really... I'm not really a performer like that. What I do on this show is just me. It's just me talking about politics. I always feel uncomfortable when I venture too far outside of that. That's just because I'm not like... I'm not a comedian like that. I don't want to go and be the chud. Oh, say something about politics now. Say something based now. That's not me.
Midwest Supreme sent $20. Hey Nick, absolutely love it.
Oops, that's
$39.99 sent $20. This is all very suspect and convenient. They waited to deploy this Manchurian candidate at just the right moment. They won Can 2028.
Oh my gosh.
Jalen sent...
It's like you guys couldn't figure this stuff out if you had a million years to do it. It's so bad. I hope you see that now. I hope when you read the super chats you see that even if you watch the show every night, some people are just never going to be able to do this for themselves. You can know everything I know. You can watch everything I say on the show, and you still will not be able to predict what is just around the corner. You still would not be able to fill in the blank because you are impaired. You are mentally impaired. You are mentally retarded. No, that's obviously not what is happening here. Obviously.
Jalen 75 sent $20. Trump says no more attacks will be made by Israel. Who does he think is in charge?
Great.
Senate Moore sent $20. Elected state GOP delegate yesterday over boomers. Just to vote Democrat in the midterm. Roy Party throws Christ is king.
Amazing.
Stephen Roy sent $20. Just one day after dissenting from Trump and Kent publicly disavows you by name, and I'm supposed to believe you're the sile.
What? One day after dissenting from Trump and Kent... Oh, in 2022? I don't really think that's
Dr.
what
Curious
happened.
sent $20. I can't stop thinking about how much the Venezuela was attested public sentiment / appetite for Iran conflict escalation.
It wasn't, though. It wasn't. If anything, it was for an audience of one. It was for Trump. Oh my gosh. No, they're not sitting around saying, let's see if the public supports this. They knew the public wouldn't support
Matt's
it.
for America sent $20.
Oh my
You've been so
gosh.
important, and you've truly made an impact in my life. I'm reading the Bible. Thank you, less than 3.
Love to hear
Israel
it.
First
Amazing.
Forever sent $20. Hear me out. Rape Sneeko so that brown clown knows what it feels like to be gay. My gen lost its balls sent $100. Nick, 40. Out of 3. Mustafa, D. Smith's listener. Haven't missed AF show since Tucker Cost. Voted for
Let's go.
DT3X. I've never actually taken it from behind, but imagine the feeling is similar. I'm so angry politically. Straight damn ticket until GOP burns. Keep it up.
Thank you for the
Keep
big
progressive hope.
super chat. I appreciate it. W. Unk. W. Oldtimer. Former Tucker and Dave Smith listener. Welcome. Yes, welcome. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. That's okay. Hey, you didn't know about me until the generational run. As long as we're burning the GOP down.
Charles Guido sent $20.
That's what matters.
Thomas Massey. Would incumbent Republicans pass the sniff test? This is the way of the future. Hail Caesar. Charles Guido sent $20. Name 7 nations that begin with K, past or present.
7 that start with K. Okay. Are there 7 in real life? Kiribati, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, St. Kitts and Nevis. Does that count? No. Let's see. What else do we got? We got 3 right out of the gate. Let's see. Can we get anything else? Are there 7? That might be a troll. I feel like there are not 7 that start with K.
India, dude.
Let's see. St. Kitts and Nevis, that starts with an S. So that doesn't count. We got 3. There's no other countries that start with a K? Let me think. well, Korea. Does that count? South Korea, North Korea?
No.
That should count. What else? Kuwait. Haha. That's technically 4. Kuwait, Kiribati, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan. Tentatively South Korea, North Korea, but let's just maybe Korea. We'll say 4 for now. Kuwait.
Kenya.
See, the problem with these ones is you either know the alphabetical, all the countries, or you just have to think about every single country, which makes it and I don't know that there even are 7 that start with a K. You're just trying to stump me, but I'm not going to give up super easily here. Let's see. No, I think that's it. That's got to be it, right? That's got to be it. I don't know any past nations. That's too broad. Every nation that ever existed. Yeah, all right. Those are my answers. Kenya, damn it. Kosovo, damn it. I should have just kept going. The problem is I thought you were trolling me. Kenya, yeah, that's a good one. Kosovo, well, that's not even a real country. That's part of Serbia.
Roy, present $50. My
All right.
Roy, present $50.
But that's still only, what is that? That's only 6? So.
Roy, present $50. My favorite monologue from you is the episode after Beers by far. Some things you hear and know are true at a gut level. That sat like a stone in my stomach. Made me yearn for something I've never had.
Oh, wow, thanks. I don't remember what that monologue
Why
was.
you say sent $20? Tucker Carlson's beef with Shapiro has to be a facade, right? The Jews know they're losing their audience, so why not use Tucker to criticize Israel and eventually run him in 2028?
You guys are idiots. You're never gonna be able to do. This is why you need leadership. This is the difference. This is why you need intellectuals, or at least people with a brain. The Jews need Tucker, so it's like you watch the show and yet so little understanding.
Jordan M. Nelson sent $20.
Sad.
Shabbos Kassabaum said he wants to debate you in a post on X. Would you do it, or is it not worth engaging
I'm
with?
sure he does. I'm one of the #1 political podcasters. Of course he does. Sorry, this isn't Columbia. There's no DEI here. Why don't you get a platform, and then, if it's worth my time, I'll debate you, you fucking loser. What is your claim to fame? You're a Jew suing Harvard, you fucking idiot? You're a Jew suing Harvard for anti-Semitism? You have no platform. You're nothing. There's no DEI here. Sorry. Sorry your bubby never gave you this sobering reality here, but there's no Jewish uncle here that can pull some strings and get you an opportunity. My uncle said I could be on the Nick Fuentes show. No, it don't work like that. It don't work like that, little Jew boy. Get yourself a platform, and then if it's worth my time, I'll debate you. It's not worth debating you. You are nothing. You have no platform. Go live. Tell me how many live viewers you get. Pissing. I love that. The ankle biting. Yeah, sorry. I didn't work this hard to just be more Jewish DEI for the most unexceptional race.
Gates 67 sent $50. Hey Nick, my friend and I are at the club, and my friend started making out with a chick and later figured out she was Jewish. What should he do? Should he hide his power level? Tommy Boy sent $40. What is your favorite James Bond movie?
You know, I don't really love the James Bond movies, but if I had to pick one, I would say maybe Skyfall or Casino Royale. It would definitely be a Daniel Craig James Bond. I can't even really watch the other ones.
What service are you
And
looking for?
it would either be probably Casino
Okay, my friend.
Royale
I'll take care of the
or
LSPD.
Skyfall.
Leave it to me.
I think those are probably the 2 all-time best.
Evangelist Devon sent $20. Your new nickname is Nigger Nick. You always have to wake up early, dickhead. By the way, I want you to have my music for it.
Okay.
Rabbi Shmuley sent $50. If you decided to go into law, what type of law would you practice?
I have no idea.
Old Right Realist sent $20. Huckabee's picture is next to the definition of servility in the newest Webster after telling BB he's glad to not be on the Israel kill list. Ben felt like a good boy.
Very good. This picture is next to the definition of bitch. The Huckabee's Huckabee's pictures next to the definition of bits in the dictionary. Good one. Wow, the gloves are coming off. Wow. That's awesome.
Candidates.
Hey, thank you for the huge... Did I say that? Thank you for the massive super chat. I don't know what that is, but God bless, buddy. 07's in the chat for the massive support. God bless. Love it.
Wago DH sent $50. You're doing well. Have you noticed the silence from Elon regarding war? Is this political positioning somehow?
What
He's
the-
also adding feature to X to show his likes soon. Thoughts? God bless.
Yeah, it's all a
For
conspiracy.
Max Bell's textbook said $100. Day 359. I'm trying to send this super chat that doesn't cause it to crash out. The only prompt that will work is fine. I'm a mother of 3 and have been watching for years. Keep up the good work and it looks like you lost weight. Also, the new Ryan Gosling movie drops in 2 days.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, that movie looks dumb. That movie looks dumb. From the creators of The Martian. Well, why would you advertise that? The Martian was terrible. The Martian was like the high watermark of those Reddit I fucking love science movies. Remember that one, The Martian, with Matt Damon? And there's a scene where he's like, let's science this shit out. Let's do some science. The Martian, tell me if I'm wrong, that was like the high watermark, the epitome of I fucking love science. r/I fucking love science. Neil deGrasse Tyson is my hero. Who's the Jewish one? Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was a martyr for reason. You know, like Seth MacFarlane is a huge Carl Sagan glazer. I have a poster of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'm a regular browser on r/I fucking love science. I follow Being Liberal on Facebook. I voted for Obama. Smoking weed isn't addictive. You just, it's not, you just need to be able to handle it. I remember all my stoner friends in high school used to say that. I used to say, it's not addictive. It's not as bad as alcohol. It's a plant. It's like, okay, oh, sure thing, pal. That, remember that whole, I love Rick and Morty. It's my favorite show. I'm so glad that subculture died. That was so insufferable. All my friends in high school were like that. All my friends in high school were like that. So anyway, the Ryan Gosling movie, it's made by the creators of The Martian. I'm like, why would you tell people that? Why would you tell people you made The Martian? That movie sucked. Remember all that stuff? People watch The Big Bang Theory. That had like a moment. That was like a real cultural moment. I like nerds. Nerds. Everybody was into superheroes. Everybody was going to comic book stores wearing superhero t-shirts. Man. But that was the texture of life growing up from like, let's say 2009 to 2014, 2015. If you're one of these like cuspers like me, you're like a zillennial, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Man. There's something different. It was better. It was a better time. You kids wouldn't understand. So much millennial optimism, so much stomp, clap, hope core, keep calm and carry on. People were growing ironic mustaches and wearing fedoras. People strung up Christmas lights in their backyard and they started playing the guitar. They were dancing like nobody was watching, and they were stomping and clapping and banging a drum. And they brought back, what was that band from the 90s that everybody listened to again? You know what I'm talking about? It was... What was it? Not of Monsters and Men. You know what I'm talking about? What was it? Someone said Green Day. Okay, so you're in. Blink 182. You people are hopeless. And you people are hopeless. And you people are hopeless. No. These are all wrong answers. Come on, who am I thinking of? Who am I thinking of?
Freeze.
Who am I thinking of? Somebody tell me. I'm looking. I'm not moving on until I get it. There's a right answer here, and I'm not moving. Neutral Milk Hotel. Got it. Got it. Yes. Exactly. Shout out. We got to shout the guy out. Greased up nationalist. That's it. And George Lopez 20 also said it. Yes. Exactly. Neutral Milk Hotel. Neutral Milk Hotel was having their revival. What was that album? The Airplane Over the Sea. Was having a revival and influenced the Lumineers and Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros and all that stuff. It was a different time. You know, people were watching Portlandia. Everything was in a sepia filter. People voted for Obama. They believed in hope and change. We were watching Elders React. Elders react to the gay marriage Supreme Court decision. Glee was on TV. It was a different time, you guys. It was a different time. The Big Bang Theory won every Emmy. And people were watching superhero movies and getting into comic books. You guys wouldn't understand. It was millennial optimism. White hipsters in Brooklyn were happy. They were wearing ironic hats and mustaches and funny glasses. Now everything is so disgusting. Now everything is disgusting. And filth. Anyway, so sorry, had to have a little nostalgia moment there. The Martian. Remember The Martian? Let's science this shit out. Oh man. To be a kid again,
Oscar
right?
1984 sent $20. Reading an article today on Foreign Affairs by Kenneth Pollock about regime change in Iran. Had to run an early life check. Of course, he was Jewish and tied to the Lawrence Franklin espionage scandal.
Kenneth Pollock wrote the book. Unthinkable. Kenneth Pollock wrote the book about why we need to bomb Iran's nuclear program. In 2014, 2015, I read it. That's how old I am. Kenneth Pollock, I read his book. You magnificent bastard, I read his book when I was in high school. I know, I was there. It's crazy.
Jack Rubenstein sent $50. Let's have the chance to do something really funny.
I know, man.
Little
Please,
However sent
can you hear me?
$20. What's your favorite episode of Murdoch?
They suck.
Deflect Dolphin sent $20. Tucker, I had no idea my dad was CIA. And how does this gay boy know about my dad? Also, Tucker, I am in communications with Iranian officials and have exclusive interviews with world leaders. Bro.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Dappen 214 sent $20. Tomorrow's show will start at 9:30.
Okay, this time for
Ohio
real.
Reader sent $20. Will you show us your NATO collection?
I don't know what that
Beans
is.
44 sent $20.
Is that
Did
an
you see
anime
James
thing?
Fishback absolutely mock Laura Looper's dumbass said Cup Charles? All because James Fishback decided to criticize Trump and Pam Bondi about Epstein in Israel.
Who? I didn't see that. I don't know who that is either.
This dog
But
on
W.
sent $20. Operation Groundhog Day. From regression to digression. Hey man, appreciate you doing what you do. I think the people that are half functional are catching on. I think. Boy, touch egg to crack.
The Goyim are they're a tough nut. Tough nut, man. The Goyim are tough, but yeah, the real niggas, they know it's up.
6-7 nigga Roy sent $20. Lol, why do you pronounce it as cutter? Like, it's obviously not our nigga.
It's pronounced cutter.
CC Red 95 sent $105. If you still had a euphonium, do you think you could still play it at all?
I couldn't. Thank you for the big super chat. No, I couldn't. Even if I think I still have it somewhere. Where it is. My mom is like, I'm gonna sell that thing. You made me buy. I'm like, why are you gonna sell it? Oh, really? Okay, I'll buy it off you. Really? My mom is all pissed because she bought me a euphonium when I was in high school and I didn't play it in college. She's like, I paid for this $3,000 euphonium and you never played. It's like, Mom, that was 10 years ago. Like, let it go. I'm gonna sell it. What are you gonna get for it? $500? Really? Isn't that so typical, though? Isn't that how your parents are? Am I right? I'm like, Mom, you bought me that in 2015. Let it go, okay? That was 11 years ago. Seriously? Move on. I swear, I had this conversation with my mom a couple of years ago, because we have it. We still have the euphonium in the coat closet. And I'm like, can I bring the euphonium back to my place? And she's like, I'm going to sell that thing. You can't have it. We paid for that damn thing, and you never played it in college. I'm like, that was a decade ago. Dude, Obama was president when you bought that. Seriously? Move on. Can't you let me just have this? I'm your son. Mom, I'm your son. That's such a mom thing. Love her, but yeah, could you believe that's where her mind went? And sometimes I wonder, and I'm not going to do like a whole, not going to do like a therapy thing, but sometimes I wonder why I am the way I am, and then I think it's stuff like that, you know? It's not like, I feel like a white family would be like, of course, son. Of course you can have the euphonium. Maybe you'll pick it up again. You know, I'm sure like a white mom would say that, but like my Italian mom, I'm going to take it and sell it. It's like, yeah, okay, now I'm starting to see a pattern here. The scorekeeping, you know, that's where her mind went, right? Hey, Mom, can I have my euphonium? You never played that thing. You never played your euphonium. Okay, Mom.
Pedro sent $20. What do you think of Brazil and Brazilians? Another third world shithole?
I don't give a shit. I'm taking it. I'm going to take it when you're not paying attention.
Pedro sent $20. What do you think of Brazil and Brazilians? Another third world shithole or potential?
To call the cops.
Pedro sent $20. What do you think of Brazil and Brazilians? Another third world shithole or potential to be some kind of ally? Argentina sold.
Third world shithole, but yeah, maybe they can.
Wakanda Grower sent $20. Hey Nick, serious question. Can't we all as Grow-Hypers protest in the streets and give attention to our anti-Israeli view?
No.
Mozambique Grow-Hyper sent $20. Could this all be a river psyop orchestrated by IPAC who is using Joe Kent as a distraction from us finding the truth? PG Conifer sent $20. Have you discovered any link between Palantir, Ripple XRP, and JB? Curious if you've done a deep dive on Ripple yet.
I haven't.
Neil Cavalry 1123 sent $50. It's literally okay Spotify bro. Muzzy G sent $250. Hey Nick, I appreciate you letting people know that Muslims aren't the enemy, at least right now. Every Muslim country that didn't play nice with Israel got left in ruin. I personally have family members that have died and been displaced. Your empathy reflects your religion, and for that I thank you.
Well, thank you for the big super chat. We're Christian. We love everybody. So I appreciate you saying that. God bless you and your family. We're not like the Jews. We're not out to kill everybody that's dancing our way.
NJF Fortnite skin when?
So
Wade sent $20. Hate people pushing the narrative that Charlie was some anti-war hero. His politics are now whatever people want it to be.
yeah, well, and they say, well, they had to take him out because he would lobby Trump against the war. Dude, Tucker did that. Tucker was meeting with Trump multiple times in the lead up to the war, telling him not to go to war. So, what do you think about that?
He sent $20. Hello, can you please tell us your thoughts on Waco and Ruby Ridge, please, and thank you.
I don't really have anything insightful.
Joseph Stool 22 sent $20. I understand the logic of voting Democrat, but it won't resonate with the masses. The dead landslide is coming whether your name is behind it or not. Push abstention. Your credibility matters, actually.
You know nothing.
MB Grow sent $30. Put my brother onto your show this past year. Now we're both voting Democrat in 2026.
Let's go.
Praying for your parents. God
Let's
bless.
go. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mark Slav sent $20.
All
U.S. Army
aboard.
Major General Antonio Aguda left classified Ukraine maps on a
Get
train
the
in Poland.
fuck out of
These
here.
were found by
You're
NATO
not
allies.
welcome.
Was this an attempt to compromise
Leave,
NATO and get them into the
motherfucker.
Israel war?
Leave.
That sounds insane.
Scooby Whoopity sent $20. Tucker must have heard you. He just released the John Kent video for free on YouTube, Cat.
He was going to do that anyway.
America First 1776 sent $20. UC Laura Loomer's tweet about Joe Kent leaking info and Tulsi/Vance meeting. Candace is meeting with Joe Kent tomorrow. Joe Kent, Tucker, and Candace are hyping the Charlie Kirk conspiracy. It's a psyop.
Yep.
Perspective Artisan sent $20. They're on Twitter trying to create a generational rod for John Goyle, and it's the gayest, most astroturf shit I've ever seen. Straight up skin suiting AF to prop up his boomer slop.
Who cares?
He sent $20.
Literally, who
Kelly
cares?
here. Really appreciate all of your work. Did you see the California GOP is vetting for infiltrating
I did
pro-Iowas?
see that. Yeah, it's
Partner
amazing.
11B sent $20. Looking as good as ever, man. Any plans to move from the pull-up bar to weights? Put 10 pounds of muscle on in his mumclav. Idaho University Grower sent $20. Been throwing the idea around that World War II was orchestrated by the Jews as a means to gain sympathy and then later power. Thoughts?
Right.
16 Ian sent $23. Converting my family to Catholicism partly because of you. Keep Jesus at the center. God bless you. Psalm
Love
23:1.
Yes.
We're going 1998 sent $20. Do you see this theater distancing from Kent and the gang is a layup for anti-war Vance/Kent ticket at 28? Ryan 178 sent $20. Why is Trump foosing up my stocks, bro? Don't even start with crypto. Are you investing into anything right now with the war? What's the move? God bless you.
Really? Are you kidding? How desperate are you? How desperate are you?
Holding sent $20. Come to Denmark. Fire emoji. Going for school sent $20. Great suit last night. It made the grades very green. Talk about la-di-da. Hey, wanna go see Capitol Soiree with me the day before Hitler's birthday? It's in Minneapolis, but I'll protect you. Oh, and check your P.O. box. Raymond 505 sent $25. Georgia is full of pro-Ivers. Has everyone forgotten that Tucker is a CIA baby? He feeds chuts on 8 words.
Very true.
280 sent $20. Playing devil's advocate. Did Joe Kent assume Trump was all talk? Go along with it. And only pivot once Tucker gave him cover. Just some guy here sent $20. You are gay, here is some money. Licensed Wheel sent $20. Your theory on Ken is plausible. It is something you conclude based on compiling data without concrete evidence. Why then can't you draw the same type of questions around Turk and Israel's role? You gay?
Ugh.
Boys Be Going sent $100. The best things in life are free, like Jesus Christ and America First with NJF. Jewish Tucker's alphabets are always under your videos. He just can't stop doing tricks on it. Let's be honest though, if 1 million people buy it at $6, then he fulfills Saturn's prophecy in favor of Goyim Golden Age.
Yeah, thank you for the big super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Cash sent $20. Let's say America would like to not have to lick balls in the Middle East in order to meet her energy needs going forward. In order to accomplish this, she needs to either mutilate some Arabs or set up new nuclear facilities with updated security features. Which is the better call? He's one more expensive slash desirable.
Everything you just said.
Francesco sent $100. If you're interested in Epstein, I don't want your vote. If you don't like Levin, I don't want your vote. But I canceled some Indian slash Pakistani driver licenses. Wow. Great.
Yeah, so true. Thank you for the big super chat. Great. Yeah, the CDL licenses. Oh, amazing.
Awesome. What do you think would happen if the United States just abandoned Israel and blamed them for the war and leaves them on their own? I know it's very unlikely, but I wonder what you think happens if true.
Oh,
Can't ask Dick Tucker Swim sent $20. You see Pierce storming off his own interview. Thanks, Mr. Sides.
Yeah.
Hal Turner sent $20. Never down the go.
So true.
Appeal to Heaven sent $66. No message.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Clinton Kill List sent $20. Is The Sopranos the GOAT? Yes or no? And if you haven't seen it yet, watch it. Conceit 209 sent $20. $6 for Tucker and Joe's interview. Best I got is $2.71. Lost Fire TV remote sent $30. Much rather take Article 92 failure to obey than to die by suicide drone in the Gulf of Oman. I guess my boomer grandfather and chain of command will be disappointed the Goy said no.
Wow.
Nate West Valentine sent $20. What part does Joe Rogan play in all this? Egan Roeber sent $20. All the Shaw's Men. A great book to read for all those asking for book suggestions. I'll help you understand the rant today.
Okay.
Shavery sent $20. Sorry, Nick. People in the group chat hate me after Friday for saying they were broke. I want to donate $500 again, but I can't risk my future relationships.
Very
The
good.
last Montekia sent $100. Why hasn't Iran destroyed the Western Wall yet? Mr. Fuentes, give me a 24-pack of Coronas, that nice blue hat, and a taco truck, and it'll get straight of Hormuz open.
Thank you for the big super chat. Very good.
Arcane
Very
Turbo sent $20. It's a talk show. It's a talk show. I talk on a talk show. Perspective Artisan sent $20. Keith Woods wrote a little tweet on how the millennial hipster exposed Brent Urban Burger Joint era was the last modern iteration of a uniquely white culture, and I came to appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like he stole that from me, but I'm not sure. I can't prove it. Yeah, he said it was the last... what did he say? He said it's the last stand of implicit white identity, which is funny because he ripped that from Richard Spencer, his hero and idol. He stole that. Keith kind of was aping his hero, idol, mentor, leader, Richard Spencer. Because Richard Spencer, I believe the quote goes something like, homosexuality is the last stand of implicit white identity. That's a Richard Spencer quote. Spencer said, and I quote, homosexuality may be the last stand of implicit white identity. And Keith Woods, aping his life coach, leader, mentor, advisor, hero, Keith Woods said, actually, it's the stop, clap, exposed brick, millennial hipster culture, which is the last stand of white identity. So it's an interesting dialectic that's forming between those two. We're watching that space. I'm just teasing, but we love Keith on the show.
Salty Bell said $100. WTF was Iran-Contra?
That's your question. So what was Iran-Contra? Okay, thank you for that amazing question. Thanks for the money, I
Dr.
appreciate
Carlson
it.
sent $20. Seriously, Nick. It's only $6. I'm not asking you to break the bank. At least Joe can confidently tell me what porn is.
Who wrote that? Honest to God, who wrote that? What is wrong with you? Someone thought that would be funny. Someone said, I know, I'm going to pretend to be Tucker. Hey, Nick. Like, dude, that's so dumb. Like, that is such a horrible joke. And you should feel bad. Like, stop trying to be funny in your entire life. Like, just don't try to be funny.
Danny Finkelstein's mom sent $20. Don't worry, guys. Trump is just playing 6 million dimensional chess.
Oh my.
He's screwing America First Patriots over so badly to drive us directly towards...
It's just like, it hurts.
Justin Grover sent $20.
hurts.
So true. The Stonite culture when we grew up was so annoying. Can't stand hearing the Pickle Rick slang. Complete weed slop.
Yeah.
MS232 sent $20. Funny how Republicans worried about illegals before the 24 election cause they're obviously going to vote Democrat. Now some are fine with Trump backing off. Don't complain about us voting Democrat then.
Yeah. Really great point. We got one more big super chat, but it hasn't loaded yet. From Shavery. Love the super chats that come in. At the last second, it says, okay, I changed my mind. These super chatters are broke if they don't donate $500 right now. Thank you for the massive super chat. Sorry we can't play it. But I appreciate the huge support. God bless. 07's and big special thank you and shout out to Shade. There it is. It just loaded.
Shade reset $500. Okay, I've changed my mind. These super chatters are broke if they don't donate 500 RN.
Wow, thank you so much. Okay, that's our last super chat. That's going to do it for me. As always, remember to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. I'm on the air Monday through Friday. As always, thanks for watching. Thank you to our top super chatters, especially Shavery, Candidus, Maximus, Muzzy G, CC Red, Edmund Fitzgroiper, Cinemas Goyslav. Great. My Generation Lost Its Balls, Robert Maxwell's Textbook, Goys Be Goying, Francesco, Last Monarchia, Salty,